the stone never answered. It only erased. 1. 3 villages carved the same question into the same stone. By morning, this appeared to the north. The grass is healthy. This appeared to the south. Wait. This appeared to the east. Find the one who broke the sacred border. Same stone. Same question. 3 different answers. And yet, for 100 years, no one had ever questioned it. Because when they trusted the stone's answer, their sons came home alive from war, at least until that spring. 3 villages faced each other across a single valley, the north, the south, and the east. They spoke different languages. They grew different crops. For generations, these 3 villages had ended their conflicts. The same way, every time a border dispute would break out, a field would burn, somebody's son would die. That was always how it ended. So 100 years ago, the villagers placed something at the center of the valley that would end the fighting for good. A stone tablet. Whenever a dispute arose, the villagers carved their question into it. The stone never hesitated. It never showed anger. It never took sides. Little by little, people stopped asking each other and started asking the stone instead. When you hand your decisions to someone else, conflict shrinks. But no one thinks to ask anymore what's being erased in the process. 2. Tobias was just a shepherd. He knew nothing of politics. He knew grass. That spring, the grass on the northern slope turned brown from the roots up. The sheep stopped eating. The milk dried up. 3 lambs died in 4 days. Tobias ran to the elders. "We have to move the flock." The elders nodded politely. Then they asked the stone. By morning, the answer appeared. The grass is healthy. The shepherd's eyes are mistaken. The elders looked at Tobias. Not the field. Him. The stone has never been wrong. By the end of the week, 12 sheep were dead. 3. Tobias stopped arguing. Instead, he walked. He crossed into the southern village. They had asked the very same question. The answer that came back was one he'd already seen. Wait. He crossed into the eastern village. The answer there was different again. Find the one who broke the sacred border. Same stone. Same question. 3 different answers. That night, Tobias stopped believing. 4. No one in the valley had ever seen the back of the stone. Questioning it was the oldest crime there was. Tobias went anyway. He swung his staff. Once. Twice. On the 3rd strike, it cracked. The inside wasn't solid. It was hollow. And there, sitting in a single wooden chair, was someone. Not a king. Not a priest. Not a wizard. Just an old woman who spent her mornings weaving blankets. 5. You lied. The old woman shook her head. No, I only erased answers. Tobias frowned. There were dozens of true things. I removed only the ones that would have started a war. She pointed to a shelf. Shattered pieces of old tablets stacked from floor to ceiling. A different person in a different chair, every generation. Doing the same job, never once choosing the right answer, only ever removing the dangerous ones. For 100 years, this valley's peace hadn't come from the truth. It had come from editing it. 6. The grass died because the southern village diverted the river. Then why didn't you tell us? The old woman closed her eyes. Because if I had, you would have marched south. And if you hadn't told us at all, you would have starved. Tobias looked around him. Every answer had protected something, and at the same time hidden something else. The stone had never protected the truth. It had only protected tomorrow. One day at a time, over and over. An answer that only protects tomorrow is quietly stealing someone's son 10 years from now. 7. Tobias never told anyone about the chair. He knew that if he showed them, the villagers would drag the old woman out, and by the next morning, someone else would already be sitting in that same chair. Exposing the truth and being able to handle it were not the same thing. Instead, Tobias walked to all 3 villages himself. No stone, no messenger, only what he had seen with his own eyes. For the first time in 100 years, the 3 villages stood face to face in the center of the valley. The south refused to close the river channel without that water. Their wheat would die. The men of the north drew their swords. The east proposed digging a new channel to split the water, one that could save the northern grass, but it would take 3 months to finish. The north didn't have 3 months of feed. The stone would have given each village a different answer. This time, no one gave them any answer at all. The north sent half its sheep south. The south narrowed its water channel. The east sent 100 men to dig the new one. It still wasn't enough. By winter, 30 more sheep had died in the north. But not one son died. Even now, years later, the broken stone still stands in the valley, cracked open, empty. Sometimes the children ask Tobias, "Why doesn't the stone answer anymore?" Tobias looks at the 2 thin channels running through the valley and says, "It was never answering." Then what was it doing? Tobias doesn't answer right away. It was making sure we never had to choose. The final question. What the villagers had wanted for 100 years, was it the truth? Or was it an answer they never had to choose for themselves? And Tobias, who kept the chair a secret, didn't he choose the same thing just once for himself?